Everyone, this is Steve Gregory, NFL football player, safety. Today we're going to be working on the cover 2 drill as a cornerback and working on your hinge technique is what we call it. To help me out here, I got my friend Brandon Hughes, cornerback, and we're going to get started. The main thing in cover 2 you need to understand from a corner's perspective is, in order to make this whole coverage work, is you need to impede the release of the receiver, or reroute him as we say. A lot of times what happens is the cornerback doesn't touch the receiver and he gets a free release off the field, putting stress on the safety. So in this drill, what we're going to work on is simulating the cornerback, Brandon's the cornerback, rerouting the receiver to the inside, because that's where you want to funnel him into. Funnel the receiver inside, and then once he funnels the receiver inside, he's going to drop and sprint to get to his landmark. Most zone coverages are landmark dropping coverages. Once Brandon gets to about 10 to 12 yards, splitting the numbers in the sideline, or top of the numbers rather, he's going to get into his shuffle position. Now from this point, there's really 2 routes that can hurt you in cover 2. There's the flat route, which is what we'd prefer the guy to throw the ball to, and there's the 7 route. So what you normally hear this route is a smash route or a China 7. And what happens is the inside receiver will run the 7 route, the corner route, and they'll put a guy in front of him and try to get Brandon to bite the cheese, is what we call it. And if he bites that cheese, there's a window here in between the safety and the cornerback that they can drop that ball into. So this technique and this drill here is going to help the cornerback understand how to get into his drop and be able to play both of them. So what we'll do is Brandon will simulate the jam, the turn, sprint to his landmark, again a shuffle position. And as a quarterback, I'll either give him a shoulder move that I'm going to throw the flat route or throw the 7 route. And he's not going to know which one I'm going to throw, and he'll be able to play them both. So here we go. Ready? Set, go. There you go. Now that's a drill showing. You saw Brandon real good with his footwork, especially here at the point of attack on the receiver. He didn't open up his feet to jam the guy. What he wants to do is shuffle real square and stay right in front of that guy. Funnel him inside to the safety, to the linebackers, to the rest of your help. Once he gets here, it's what we call the hinge technique. That's when he needs to open up his hips, keeping vision on inside, because that's where everything is. All the routes are coming from the inside. You don't want to shuffle a guy in here and then sprint this way with your back to the quarterback. In zone coverage, the most important thing are your eyes. You want to have your eyes inside on the quarterback, see where he's throwing the ball. So once he shuffled in here, he turned here, he had his vision. He could see everything going on in front of him. He sprints out, gets to his landmark, and settles it down. The important thing is you don't want to get too deep either, because then they're just going to hit that route in front of you, turn it up, and get big yardage. So that midpoint is anywhere from 10 to 12 yards is a good landmark drop. So as you see, you work here, you work on getting the jam, flip out, open here, and now if he would have thrown the 7, he would have continued and played the 7 route. I respect this drill a lot because I do play safety, and as a safety, the last thing you want is for your corner to jump that flat route, because now you're chasing that 7 route. A landmark drop for a safety is anywhere from 2 to 3 yards off the hash. You're in your back pedal. Now that 7 route's coming, and your cornerback is 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. No way you could get there as a safety. That cornerback needs to be in a good 10 to 12 yard drop, put air on the ball, give his safety time to get over there and make the play. So we'll do it one more time. This time I'm going to break you on the 7 route probably. You see the ball. What the 7 route is basically is a lot of times teams line up 2 receivers. They'll sit a guy down in the flat. And the 7 route, if you look on the route tree of every offense has a route tree that a receiver can run. The 9 is a deep ball, 7, 5, 4. All the different numbers have different meanings to a position on the field that the receiver is going to run. A 7 route is basically known as a corner route or a flag route. The receiver is going to run up anywhere from 10 to 12 yards. Now he's going to break for that corner. Imagine down by the goal line, you get that corner pylon. That's where the 7 route is going. And the receiver, quarterback wants to drop it in here. In cover 2, that's the weakness of the defense. But if you play it the right way, you can discourage it or even pick it off if you know how to bait pretty well as a cornerback, which Brandon does. I'm sure he's picked off some 7 routes in cover 2 before in in his day. So here we'll show it one more time. If in this drill, if you have a couple more guys, you could have a guy here with a bag to really get that simulation of a jam. So with the guy with the bag will jam here, boom. He'll ride him inside, and then he'll work on his hinge technique. So right now we're gonna simulate it on air, and Brandon's gonna show you how it's done. Set, go. Jam, hinge, settle down. Now there's the 7 route. And he goes and picks it off. Again, when we're talking about cover 2 and we're talking about zone defenses and landmark drops, everybody on the defense has an area of the field they have to cover. As a cornerback in cover 2, your responsibility is really the flat. So in our cover 2 that we're talking about, the landmark drop for the cornerback, once he gets his jam and his reroute and he gets his hinge, his landmark drop is going to be 10 to 12 yards deep, bottom of the numbers. From here, he could play his entire zone. He could play the flat route. He can play that 7 route that we were talking about. If somebody's coming across, he could come up and annihilate him if he needs to. Another landmark drop you're going to have in cover 2 is probably by the linebacker, who's going to be in the hook area. That's a landmark drop. That's going to be 10 to 12 yards deep, 2 yards outside the hash. So now imagine you got the cornerback here, you got your hook player here. You probably have a run-through guy in cover 2, which will be the Mike linebacker playing the deep middle, sort of tempoing it down. Another hook player on the other side, another cornerback over there. We say landmark drops because you have to have a point on the field that you can drop to. You can't just say, oh, you have the flat. So we'll have a landmark that'll position you in position in that defense to where you can play your responsibility, your area of responsibility. And that's the definition of a landmark drop. In man coverage, you won't have a landmark drop, obviously. You'll have a man to cover. But in zone coverages, you want to have landmark drops for guys so that they can get in position, keep eyes on the quarterback at all times, see where he's about to throw the ball. He'll determine everything for you. If you're playing cornerback on this side and the quarterback's looking away, you don't need to get so wide in your landmark drop. He might be looking that way. You might want to squeeze it down a little bit, tighten it up, and be able to play a little bit more to the inside of the field. So that's the definition of a landmark drop. Now, as we were saying, is you want to prevent that 7 route, but as a cornerback, it's not your responsibility necessarily to totally stop the 7 route. The biggest reason we want to get into this position is so that we can put the quarterback in a bind. If he throws that 7 route, he has to put air on it. And as a cornerback, you're underneath it to make him put air on it. It gives time for the safety to get over the top. If as a cornerback, you come up and you're sitting at 5 yards, that quarterback can easily laser that ball in there to where the safety does not have the time to get over there and make the play on that ball. So it's imperative that you get to your landmark drop. You're in a good position. You can see what's going on. If the quarterback's shoulders are high, like he's going to throw to 7, then you could go and play it, possibly make a play on it, and if not, put enough air on it for the safety to make a play on it. Again, that's my pro tip. I'm Steve Gregory. How to play cover 2 as a cornerback. And there you go.